The Nick Scott Effect. The Nick Scott Effect. Available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Facebook Watch, and everywhere podcasts are found. Interview requests and show notes available at djnickscott.com.
I was trying to set the mood for us, but that wasn't working.
Dude, it's so great to have you on here, man. I've been a fan of yours for years, and the fact that you agreed to come on my little podcast here, I'm flattered. So thank you so much, brother.
You're very welcome. This is the first actual interview I've done of this year, so really? I thought it would be good to start with a West Virginian like myself, and we just, we grease the wheels together.
That is great.
Get me back in the swing of this.
Dude, so you guys have had quite a career, and what's crazy, I grew up in Cincinnati, but I was always a metal guy, and I played guitar in a little metal band with some guys I grew up with, and we had maybe 8 originals. We played like Battle of the Bands at Bogart's in Cincinnati. Do you remember Bogart's in Cincinnati?
Yeah, I never got a chance to play there, but I've went to a lot of great concerts there.
So, but being a metal fan's always stuck with me, and I'd heard your guys' music, and for some reason I didn't know when I was back home in Ohio that you guys were from West Virginia. So when I came here, I had heard folks are like, "Oh yeah, Byzantine, they're from West Virginia," like they were so proud to call you guys West Virginia's own, and that was always cool to me. And then, you've talked about this. My wife and I were house hunting, and we looked through a house, and there's all these Byzantine records, and I'm like, this guy must be in the band. That was a house you were selling back in the day. So it was kind of funny how it was Mink Shoals area.
Yeah, that was that was the first home I ever bought. It was the home I raised my first child in. It was the home I wrote, I'd say, 2 or 3 of our albums in. That was a very special house for me, and we ended up selling it, and I moved to a different house, and now, it's that was a cool place, man. That's neat that you got to go through that.
Well, so we were taking the tour, and I kept seeing the records, and I remember telling my wife, I was like, I think one of the dudes in Byzantine live in this house, and she's like, Nick, calm down.
Yeah, awesome. For some reason, my pompous ass thought that would help sell a house, and now
almost did.
Yeah, I almost did. When I put my new house on the market, no one will ever know I live there. I stopped hanging pictures of myself long ago.
There you go. Well, if I remember, the reason that we didn't put an offering on the house, it was a beautiful house and it was perfect. It checked all the boxes that we wanted. But I remember the larger second bedroom, and you probably know the bedroom I'm talking about, that would have been my daughter's, had a like sliding glass patio door in it.
Yeah.
In the back. Okay.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, do you think that's a good idea to have with a teenage daughter when she's a teenager? And I was like, probably not.
Absolutely not. That's one of the reasons why. Obviously, I got remarried and had more kids, so we outgrew the house. But I knew that my first daughter, we had to vacate that house before she got old enough to sneak out. Yeah, it was a poor design on that house, but that is what it is. So.
Well, the reason I bring that up is it seems like my either fandom of you and your band, and then just kind of linearly kind of weaving around you up to this point has kind of made a crescendo of this interview. So it's pretty cool. And I actually got to meet you for the first time at a mutual friend's wedding last year. And they were like, yeah, Chris Ojeda's here. I'm like, where? And he's like, Papa Smurf over there.
Yeah. And you and I, we chatted about lighting, stage lighting for about half an hour, and hard rock, and it was a great wedding, great time, and you killed it. You kept everybody in great spirits.
Thank you. Yeah. And speaking of killing it, there are a lot of things I want to discuss. We can talk for 10 minutes. We can talk for an hour, 2 hours, whatever you feel like. But I want to talk to you about something I thought was super cool for the city of Charleston and for rock and roll music in our area is you guys got to do Live on the Levee last year.
It was real surreal because that type of a environment, it's typically not suited for heavy metal acts to play live outside on the city, sanctioned and put on by the city. And that was the first show that they have really put money behind to where they allowed heavy metal acts to play outside. And they really curated that first show last year to try to make sure that it wasn't like a stinker. I know that the people involved in it and the mayor, they were really kind of worried that, okay, we're going to really have heavy metal acts downtown where anybody can walk up and just watch them play. And John Ingram is a friend of mine. He's a local musician, and he's over a lot of those activities. And he said, man, you guys are the only act I think we could kick this off with and really not sink the ship before it even sails. So, because they knew, he knows that like we've pushed our West Virginia background for the last 2 decades. I don't really cuss live. So he knew that we would kind of be a safer bet. And we've got still a decent fan base here, but I was really blown away by how it was put together and how we ended up sounding. It was really neat. And to be able to just look out and see like 5-year-olds with all my buddies that don't get to come to our shows anymore because they got kids, and they were all like pumped. And so I was really, really privileged to be a part of that.
Did you work with John and the gang from Studio Mo on your sound?
Yeah. Did. Yeah. And I could tell, I mean, it was very professional. We use in-ear monitoring systems now, so we're kind of self-contained, but still on a live setting like that, things can go haywire quick. And
Sure.
they had everything dialed in. And from what my friends told me, we sounded okay.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so that night I had a DJ gig on the following Saturday, and I want to say I was in Maryland, and I had to actually drive out to the gig on Friday, so I could be there for load in and set up early Saturday morning. And I was like, man, I'm going to miss this. But I had a lot of friends that were there, and they were like, man, you guys crushed it. So that's awesome. One thing I find very interesting, I did want to ask you, is you said you don't cuss a lot on stage, which I would say is probably not the norm for most rock metal singers. Is there a reason?
Yeah, there's a few. I always kind of took pride in our lyrical content, even though with heavy metal, 90% of the people don't even listen to your damn lyrics. They're listening for the riffs and the kick drum. I know that, but going forward at the beginning of the band, I always tried to write some type of lyrical content that had some meaning. A lot of it was historical in nature when we were earlier on, but now I'm just kind of just writing different stuff. But it kind of started when I started having children. And, my daughter's 14, and I try to not raise her around a lot of cussing. I know she's going to be introduced to that somewhere, and I didn't want to be the one that broke the seal on that. So I kind of, when we play shows, I try to at least make it, I hate saying this word, but like a safe space for like younger kids.
No, I get it.
Sometimes we'll play shows that are all ages, and when you have a microphone, like there's a lot of power and responsibility that comes along with that. And absolutely. I think a lot of people, you'll get this because you're in this world, but the MC, you're the master of the ceremony at the time that you have that microphone. So I look at that as a responsibility. Like if we play an hour-long set, I might only have 5 to 6 minutes of actually MC time to where I can talk to people, connect with them. The rest of the time we're playing.
Yeah.
I know that's a very short window that I can get some stuff across, and the last thing I want to do is spend it using expletives.
Sure.
So I just made a conscious decision a couple years ago to just stop cussing live. And when we do have that 5 minutes of talking, I try to connect with people and to try not alienate them. We played a festival this year. I'm not going to name the festival, but every band we played with that day was doing nothing but cussing, either when they were like trying to get the crowd pumped up or between songs. It was just F-bomb this, GD this. And it was an all ages festival. And our guitar player brought his like son, who's like in grade school, and it irked me. It irked the shit out of. Can I cuss here?
No, absolutely.
It irked the shit out of me.
It did.
So
sure.
I'm standing at the merchandise booth just getting furious at, I was like, man, these guys don't understand the impact they're having on these kids. So I've just really taken that as something that's important to me to just whenever I have the microphone for the very short window of time, and it's a blessing to be able to have a microphone and people even care what you're saying. So I just take that time and just do not cuss.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the Facial Center. They are located in Canal City, which is a area of Charleston, West Virginia. In a previous podcast, I said a suburb, and a lot of people made fun of me for that. So we'll call it an area. It's still Charleston. Just everyone who lives in Charleston knows it as Canal City. So I'm not completely crazy, I promise. The Facial Center is a full-service medical spa that is there to meet your aesthetic needs. They offer skincare products, facials, injectables, laser treatments, hormone replacements, PDO thread lifts, weight loss help. I know we could all use that. I mean, you see this, right? If you're watching, and facial cosmetic surgeries. And one thing I'm doing with the Facial Center is they also offer tattoo removal. And as you can tell, I've got my fair share. I've actually got appointments to get my sleeve finished here. But one I regret is this rose, and they're going to take that off for me. So I'm looking forward to having that done. So check out the Facial Center at thefacialcenter.com. You know, it's very interesting to me to hear you talk about that and how you came to that with your kids and that decision, because I too, you know, I remember doing a lot of nightclubs, and then, you know, I started doing small nightclubs, and then, you know, nightclubs that would hold 600-700 people, and then kind of DJ festivals and events, you know. And I remember my late 20s, early 30s going up, you know, are you having a good effing time tonight, you know, and effing this and F that, you know, and everything. I thought I was like, you know, cool deal, you know?
Yeah.
And my daughter came along when I was 30. She's 9 now. I was 31. I'm sorry. And I remember my whole world and my whole like thought process on how I acted, how I conducted myself, started to change. And it started to change because, like you, the thought process of, well, if my daughter sees this, if my daughter hears this, what is she going to think of dad? And what is that going to tell her that she should act like, right? As an example. I remember I had earrings. I had all kinds of piercings in my ears. And she was probably 6 months old, and I was shaving. And I had shaving cream on my earrings, a couple of my earrings on both ears.
Yeah.
And I wiped them off, the shaving cream off, as I was washing my face off. And I remember just thinking, like, my daughter being about the age she is now, excuse me, about 10, going, Daddy, why are you wearing girls' earrings? And they went out that day, and they've never been back in my ears. And I tell you that story because that's how I felt about cursing. So now when I do big events or big parties, you know, of course, if someone hires me for a formal event like a wedding, there's no cursing there. But if I'm doing a nightclub or nightlife event or a festival or something like that, very rarely will you hear me curse. Just for that, like you know, if there's a child in the audience, or maybe there's an attendee in the audience that just doesn't want to hear that mess, you know? So it's kind of cool to hear you have a linear thought, and I think it's because we became dads and grew up.
It's very important. And you know, I know in the heavy metal world, like I'm an outlier in that situation, but I'm going to err on the side of caution, because if I go to a festival, And I look at it like, well, every other band's going to cuss, so I might as well do it. But I would rather be like, well, I try to treat it as if every parent that's bringing their kids there don't cuss at home. So I'm not going to be that guy that has to say it to get them pumped up. I'm just going to use riffs to do it. And if the riffs don't do it, then I'm not doing my job. So that doesn't mean that somebody can't go back and see a video of me when I was 32 saying all kinds of cuss words on YouTube, because I used to. But I didn't have a kid, Yeah. I didn't care what people thought of me.
So switching gears a little bit, and I don't know the history, and I didn't go on Wikipedia or Google or anything because I didn't want to know. I wanted to ask you, as someone who doesn't know the early days, how did the name Byzantine come to be? How did you guys pick that name? And how did the band start? How did the beginnings begin? I always find that fascinating.
Okay. Well, I was a senior in college at West Virginia University, and I had just kind of put an end to my college metal band I was playing in at the time. We were okay. We weren't groundbreaking or anything, but I thought that we had enough mojo that if I changed some pieces around, I could maybe jump to the next level. And I was just looking around on thesaurus.com, which I still use to this day for lyric writing. A lot of times if I'm lyric writing, I'll write out my prose, and then I'll go through and be like, I'm using this adjective too many, and I'll go to thesaurus.com and find something cool. But I knew our music kind of sounded complicated, and I was like, I want to find a synonym to the word complicated. And I was looking through, and the word Byzantine came up. Now, I knew of the term Byzantine just from the Byzantine Empire, which succeeded the Roman Empire. I knew that from school, but I was like, why is it complicated? So then I started doing some research, and apparently the judicial system of the Byzantine Empire was so extremely complicated. That's what we've built a lot of our judicial systems on now. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So then I did a search on whatever I used back in 2000, Netscape or something. I did a search, and there was no bands named Byzantine. I was like, why hasn't this been taken? So... And I snagged it up. I love the idea that it didn't give any weird connotation like, Cannibal Corpse, what you're getting. You know? With Byzantine, it's like, maybe I have to crack this CD to figure out what they sound like. And then our music is kind of jagged and polyrhythmic, and it just kind of fit. And it's been a pretty decent band name.
I'm sorry, cut you off there at the end. I apologize.
That's okay.
Well, and that's the hard part about doing remote podcasting. I love it, but sometimes it's hard to kind of talk over each other. So I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay.
But one thing I do love about your guys' music as a guitar player myself, and I'm not some crazy like Steve Vai professional. I mean, I can play and hold my own, but that's about it. What I love about your guys' music is you're heavy, because I'm a heavy guy. I love heavy, right? That one, well, the strings are off of that one because I just oiled the fretboard and I'm working on it a little bit.
Give it some love.
Yeah, it's good. As you can see, there's no bridge on it, and I got the clean the pickups and everything. I got to get some strings tomorrow. Anyways, that is my drop C guitar. So I love that heavy sound. But anybody can be heavy. Anybody can chugga, But you guys do heavy and melodic together. And there's not a lot of bands I feel like that can do that. Another one that comes to mind is Seven Dust, heavy and melodic. Byzantine, heavy and melodic. And I love how you guys make melody of metal. And I commend you for that. It's awesome.
Yeah, the Seven Dust comparison comes up a lot. Like when we started in 2000, Seven Dust was had just started a couple years before that, and they were really cooking with gas. And I still to this day, I'll stream any Seven Dust album that comes out because of that. How melodious Lejean is with his voice.
Yep.
So they always, you're right, they always have that staccato, just rhythm, and then he's floating above it with a melody. And a lot of the bands that I was influenced by and wanted to interject those influences in the band, they all had some type of melody involved in it. So, I guess it does, at the end of the day, separate you from a giant swath of bands who were just heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny. I did an interview, a podcast with some friends, and they're like, who's the most famous person in your phone? And I've got some famous people over the years. But my go-to, if you ask me, in my opinion, the most famous person that I have in my phone is John Conley. He's, those you don't know, is a guitarist for Seven Dust.
Yes.
Now, I've texted him like once in all the time I've had it. I've been too scared to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I love about your guys' music. It's very melodic. So let's parlay that into new music. And I'm so excited for New Byzantine. And this is your band's first record in quite some time.
Yeah, this is the first in 2017 is when we put out our last album. So I guess it's 5 years. Is that 5 years?
17 to 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, yeah.
Yeah, 5 years. We wrote the album 6 years ago because Metal Blade shelved it for about 8 months. So it's been a long time since we've cranked out any actual, printed music. So this is pretty cool.
Now, why did they shelve it?
To be honest, I can't remember. So long ago. I really don't know. Yeah, there was some type of issue. I don't know if it had to do with maybe the vinyl getting backed up because the vinyl had caught fire again, and it went from being like a turnaround time of 4 months to 8 or 12 months before you could get vinyl. So, I just can't remember why, but they shelved it for a good 8 months. And this album we're putting out now, it has went through the same rigor. Actually, we're not even putting it out through Metal Blade. We're putting it out on our own imprint.
Wow, that's all. So are you legally able to do that? You're not beholden to them as a release?
Well, that was the interesting part of this. I've never had to deal with this before, and even my representatives at Metal Blade said that they've really never done this, but I worked with Metal Blade's attorneys to get us off the contract for one album, and then with stipulations, and then we're jumping right back on the album. And
okay.
So here's the reason why. Over the pandemic, I had built a music facility here in Charleston with every penny that I could scrape by. I wanted to keep my, idle hands. I wanted to keep my hands busy over the pandemic, and I wasn't working a lot as much as I normally did. So I built this music facility, which I'm in right now. I'm in one of the live rooms, but
it looks awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. So we wanted to test this studio out, and I was like, well, no way better than to do that than to put something together. So we've got this 6-song EP that we're releasing next month. So we recorded it here, and we sent it down to our mixing engineer, Jay Hannon in South Carolina, who's done the last 2 or 3 albums. So I had talked to the representatives at Metal Blade and said, this is what we're going to present to you. Is it cool? And they were like, yeah, it's cool. When you're done, just send it our way. Well, by the time I got it done and sent it to them, they listened to it and they passed. They said, nah, it sounds great, but we're really not interested in the EP. How about you just go ahead and give us the full length and, put this to the side. So I was like, damn, I just spent $10,000 of our own money to record this EP. Now, $10,000 covers, obviously buying some gear, recording the EP. I paid my own engineers out of our own pocket. We shot a full-length music video for it, everything. I maybe in hindsight, I should have made sure that Metal Blade was going to put it out, or I wouldn't have done it. But they passed. They said, "Nah, we're not interested." So we've been sitting on this EP for over a year now, and I basically just thought we lost $10,000.
Man.
So I had a conversation with them, and I said, "How about you guys just let us off the label, and we'll put it out, and we'll use it as promotional material for our full length for you guys, free promotional material." And they said, "As long as you don't sign with another record label or distributor, put it out yourself on Bandcamp, fine. Do it. Make your money back." Yeah, they really felt sorry for us that we had spent literally all our money. And I think they just didn't want us to go into this next album cycle dead broke. So they're being gracious enough to allow us to recoup our own money, which is, it's kind of unheard of. Most of them would just say, sorry,
Now, how many albums have you released with Metal Blade?
Just one.
Just this one? Okay.
No, the 2017 album was our debut on Metal Blade. So
will this be available on like Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Bandcamp?
Yeah, all of those. It will be available on all streaming services. It'll be available physically through our website, so people can go to ByzantineWV.com, hit our official merch store, and we're going to be selling the CDs with long sleeve bundles and hoodie bundles and stuff like that. So,
and what we'll do here in the show notes, so if you're watching or listening to this, go to the details and you'll see the links to Byzantine's website and where you can go and you could purchase the album, or we'll have their Spotify links on there as well, so you can go stream the new record when it comes out. So when does the new record come out?
So we're dropping the record on, let me see, I think it's Halloween.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So tomorrow, which is the 24th, we're going to release our first single. And then in about 2 or 3 more weeks, we're going to release the second single with the music video. And then the album will be out Halloween. But people can start pre-ordering tomorrow.
So you had mentioned it's a 6-song EP. And what stands out to me, and I was talking to Chase Mitchell a couple weeks ago. He's a aspiring young country artist. Dude sounds like Gary from Rascal Flatts. I mean, he got a great voice for that genre, and he's extremely talented. And we were talking about the music industry and records, and so many bands and artists really don't do full-length albums anymore. It really seems like it's the bands you and I grew up with because that's what they did. Now it's all about your TikTok impressions, your streamings, your Spotify streams, or Apple Music streams and so forth. So you don't see a lot of bands recording full-length albums anymore. They drop little EPs with little songs here, and they shove them down the throats of streaming services, and that's what gets them their plays. So I parlay that into, I find it surprising that your label was more interested in a full-length album, because it seems like the music climate now was more interested in what new stuff can you give me now? Give me a single. Give me 2 songs. Give me 4 songs. Do you get a lot of that?
I feel the exact same way you do. I find it almost an archaic way of thinking, because if you release a full length, you're going to have 8 to 9 tracks probably. And most younger music listeners nowadays, they won't even get to the 8th or 9th track. Like you said, they're looking for that first, second, maybe third single.
Yep.
If you're putting out a 6-song EP and you put out 3 songs as a single, then you've given them half of the content. They don't have to dig much farther to get the rest of the stuff.
Right.
So, and even like we've been talking with our producer, and he even mentioned to me, so how many songs are you doing on this full length? 9. He's like, I don't know, man. Try to talk him into like 6 or 7. He's like, and so I think your sentiment is probably across the board what a lot of people are thinking, that
we call it radio ADD. You know, people want to listen, from home to work,
Yeah.
or maybe in a 30-minute workout at the gym, and they have their favorite playlist. And in that favorite playlist, they're just adding their favorite songs from different bands. So, do folks in the gym or whatever listen to a whole band's record? Sure.
Yeah.
Is that the norm in 2022? Maybe not.
Yeah.
So you drop that 6-song EP, and, I'm sure all the songs are fire, but one of your fans might like 3 of the songs better than other 3.
Yeah.
So they're adding those songs to their playlist. And then when they're sitting at their desk at work or driving to work or driving to the grocery store, those 3 songs that they love from this EP is on their playlist. Does that make sense? It's it's the society we're in right now.
It is. There's shorter attention spans. There's not so much maybe emphasis put on artwork and stuff like that. Like when you used to get the vinyl and the CD spreads, and you look at your metal magazines and covet that. Like you said, and sometimes if people have like a 20 or 30-minute commute to work, they might, their Spotify playlist or whatever, you might get a song or 2 in. Nobody's really going to spend a whole hour to listen to your stuff. And conversely, it's very hard for a band to write an hour's worth of like top shelf music. It just is. Sure. It's it's like pulling teeth. Even like, we really try to focus to make the 9th song as good as the 1st or 2nd, but a lot of bands, they don't have that in them. And especially if you have to put out content every 2 years, it's almost unfathomable to be able to write just banger after banger. That might be one of the reasons why we go so long between albums, because I want to make sure that 1 to 9 is no drop off. But in the end, I don't really know how much that helps us, because like you said, this day and age, people hear that 1, 2, 3.
How many records does Byzantine have out now total?
Right now, we have 6 out right now, and then this EP will be our 7th. So we're topping around 65 to 70 songs of original music we've got out there.
That is longevity, brother.
Thank you.
That is awesome.
Thanks.
So when you sit down to write, this is something that I've always found fascinating, because I call myself a creative artist, and I love to DJ. I love to play guitar. I love graphic arts. I love, spoken stuff, podcasting, radio. Like, I just love to create. So when I sit down to start a project, like for instance, I have a Sirius XM mix I got to start this week, where I'm going to put together an hour-long show that's going to air on Pitbull's Globalization. I have no idea what I'm going to do right now, but I usually try to draw inspiration from maybe a song I heard, or an event that I did that the crowd reacted to a song that I played, or something. I try to get some kind of inspiration. How do you write? Like, what draws your inspiration?
So I think I may have a reverse engineer type of method of writing music. Even some of the guys in the band are like, it's kind of weird how you do things. So typically what I do is, if I know that we're getting geared up towards an album, one thing I do is I don't write all the time. I'll shut it down for years and not write anything.
Oh,
and a lot of artists, they feel like you have to, what's best for them is you have to constantly pick up the guitar, constantly work at the piano, and just let the ideas flow. What works best for me is to shut down I shut the shop down. Like, so after an album, if I know we're not going to put another one out for 2 or 3 years, I don't write anything. I let it kind of stew and build up. So then when we get to the point that I know we have to start writing, it's almost like that old Evel Knievel toy where you rev it up, and then take off. So I start revving it up, and once I get cracking on the demos and start writing riffs, it's just a floodgate. And then it's typically I'll write an album in about 3 months or 4 months of just constant me in front of the computer. I don't write lyrics first. I am a rhythm guitarist by nature, so I focus more on the music, and then we will do song titles, and we'll have a cache of song titles, and then I will try to figure out which song title fits the vibe of which song, and then write the lyrics last with the song title as the guide. So it's kind of
Wow.
ass backwards. A lot of people, they'll write lyrics first, and then they'll be like, oh, this melody, it fits this lyrics, but it don't work for me.
You know, in my small experience in songwriting 20 years ago when I played my little band, you know, I was the rhythm guitarist by nature, and I would make some riffs. And, you know, creating riffs on the guitar for me was always somewhat easy. You know, I like chugga chugga, you know, palm muting fast, and, you know, harmonies and melodies and voicings and things. So I tell you that is I would write a cool riff and present it to my band. And the singer would have lyrics wrote down, and we would try to plug the lyrics in with the riff. Right. And usually the song title came from a section of lyrics somewhere in the song.
It's a good idea, too. Yeah, that works.
That's how we always, you know, did it. But it's funny, you know, bands, we go back to the Seven Dust reference, you know, some of their songs, like the song Rumblefish, has nothing to do with a rumble fish. But it was like the working title when they were in the studio, and then that just stuck as the name.
That's cool.
So with your guys' history, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, when you started off, you were also starting off with Lamb of God. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were just a few years behind Lamb. But they're just a couple years older than we were at the time. Like I'd say, you know, we would have went to high school together, but they'd have been seniors, we'd have been freshmen. So, right. Yeah, when we actually got discovered by Lamb of God.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I knew, I had heard over the years that there was a connection with Lamb of God and Byzantine. Yeah. I just didn't know the exact story.
So this EP we're releasing next month. 4 of the 6 songs are from the first demo that we ever recorded back in 2000. So wow. What we did was we went back to those 4 songs that never got redone, and we re-recorded them. I changed some vocals. You know, we've got new band members now, so they added their little influence. But those were the songs that was sent to Chris Adler in Lamb of God, and he reached out to us and said, I got this demo. You guys have something that we don't have. I want to figure out what it is. So you start opening up shows for us, and we'll see what happens. And we built I built a lifelong friendship with the guys in Lamb. It's great to see how massive they became. I hate to say it, but I didn't expect them to get that big because they were so aggressive.
Yeah.
Randy's vocals are so caustic. I never saw them breaking through that ceiling, but man, they're one of the biggest bands on the face of this earth, and I'm so proud of them.
Yeah. Do you get to play with them anymore, or do any shows with them, or maybe in the future?
I think we played a show with them and Testament maybe 3 years ago, but they're almost, the streams that we swim in now are too far apart, really. Well,
hopefully this EP will change that.
I hope. All we got to do is have one banger. We got to have one hit.
One hit. Speaking of hits, do you still work with any rock radio stations, either locally or nationally?
Yeah. So with this EP, I've put together a list of all the rock and college radio stations that we used to work with, and I still have a ton of contacts from all of them. So all of them have received the album and the singles. We still work with probably 60 or 70 college and terrestrial radio stations across America, which is great.
That is great. And unfortunately, terrestrial radio listenership is way down compared to like when I was in it and stuff. Streaming again. It goes right back to streaming. So I think, Apple Music, Spotify, what is the Google one on Android? Google Play.
Yeah, Google Play.
I think those are going to be your best friends.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's a necessary evil. A lot of bands, they want to boycott those things, but we're not in a position to make a splash in the pond if we try to pull out. So to me, if 20 or 30 people hear about us on those streaming services a month, new people, that's great. Otherwise they wouldn't hear us.
Now, have you guys, and if you haven't, you might want to look into it. Have you created a TikTok?
I haven't went there yet. I have not.
So the reason I ask is TikTok by volume is the biggest social media platform right now as we're speaking. And there are a lot of artists that are quote unquote being discovered or drawing attention to their music through TikTok. Yeah. So I would maybe recommend looking at that and creating a Byzantine TikTok just to maybe feature and show this new album to maybe a new audience of rock and metal fans.
It's not a bad idea. I think one of the main reasons why we're still so underground and undiscovered 20 years in is the fact that we're woefully inept at social media. So my daughter has told me, she's 14. She's like, you got to get a TikTok. She's like, only old people are on Facebook, Dad. So yeah, I'm like, and I'm here trying to still log into MySpace. So
we're the old people.
Yeah. So it might be, as long as I don't have to get on there and do a stupid dance or do anything like that. I do know that you can put your music on there and other people can just share it and add it to things. So
exactly,
it's something I do need to check into.
So, excuse me, my allergies killing me today. What I see a lot of bands do on TikTok is they'll take snippets of like music videos or even better, live performances.
Yeah.
And it can be 10, 15 seconds of a hook or a pretty cool section of a live concert you guys did.
Yeah.
Or different pieces of a music video shared in bits over time. And you're right, what people do is they share that and stuff like that. And it just helps get you people pointed back to your new record, so they listen to it and stuff. So you have a good idea, and you have access to literally like millions and millions and millions of users. So
yeah, I do like the fact that nowadays, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, if you wanted to do any type of proper marketing, you had to pay a PR company. You could not really do it yourself. And nowadays, I think all of that is within the artist's hands. Like if you have the time and you have a computer and, you can go onto social media and make your band huge. My problem is I spend a lot of my time trying to tell my daughter to put down the phone. And then here I am sitting on the computer. Hey, show me how to make a damn TikTok, So super just like.
Well, the same rules apply for media and broadcasting. 15 years ago when I was in live radio as an on-air personality, I couldn't do this. This wasn't available.
Right.
And if someone like me decided to say, hell with this, like I did with radio, because it's just a toxic industry anymore.
Yeah.
There would have been no platform or technology means for me to do something on my own. And then podcasting came about 15 years ago. Pioneers like Joe Rogan really kind of plowed the way through.
Yeah.
And then, folks like me who still love having conversation with artists and with just people from all walks of life. I love talking to anybody, you know. I'm going to have some politicians on here in the next couple of weeks. Nice. Politics is always a sticky subject.
It's always hot button. Yeah.
But it's stuff like this podcast for me has always wanted to be what interests me. Right. You know what I mean? So that there is interest there. But now I have the ability to reach 10, 20,000 people per episode from my basement.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
that wasn't there 10, 15 years ago. So technology's really changed the whole landscape of how, whether a band, a lead singer in a band, or an old radio idiot,
Yeah.
reach the world. You know what I mean? And it is good, though. It allows, I think, us as artists, if you want to call us that, to have the control right here. We're not beholden to someone else, which is a good feeling.
Yeah.
Well, man, we've been talking for 45 minutes, and I'll keep you as long as you want to talk, man, because I'm a fan. So this is awesome.
I got at least, I'd say, another 15 minutes before my wife tells me to get home. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
So is there anything, because you're going to have a lot of fans, especially in the West Virginia area, who are so proud to call Byzantine their own. Is there anything you would like to just, any information the fans need to hear, whether it be touring, new record, anything like that?
Well, you know, we would love to be able to say that we could get on the road and tour, and that's one of the main sticking points with our fans, is that they're spread out everywhere. We're lucky enough to have fans across the globe, and most of them have never seen us perform.
No.
I think people around here, you know, they've kind of grown conditioned to seeing us play because we play in the tri-state area so much, but we just don't have the ability to get out. And we've been trying. We've been trying to contact people to take us out on tour. It's just like, you know, to be real, to be honest, we don't bring a lot to the table monetary wise for other bands to take us out. And that kind of sucks. It stings, but I get it. You know, we've made some mistakes across the 20 years we've been together, but we keep trying, and we're hoping that maybe this EP, if something on it will catch someone's ear, maybe a bigger band will be like, you know what? Hey, let's take these guys from West Virginia out and give them another shot, you know?
Yes.
So I would love to be able to perform these, you know, songs live for some people. But if we can't, we're going to give them the best thing we can, which is a good, solid product. And then we're going to dive headlong into the full length, which should be coming out next year. I'd say spring or fall, or sorry, around summer.
Have you thought about putting your name in the hat over the next year or next several years in terms of the Charleston Sternward Regatta?
No, I actually I have not. I'm friends with the people over it, and I just never bothered them with that.
Well, I mean, they generally they have like a rock night, right?
Yeah.
And a country night and so forth. So, I mean, if I'm Joe Blow event planner and I'm bringing in a national act, how awesome would it be to have a renowned West Virginia act open? So have Byzantine open for whoever this is. And
the regatta's bringing in huge numbers. The Live on the Levee was great attendance, but it pales in comparison to the regatta. And I guess it would be a win-win because they can already look and be like, well, they played to 3,000 people down at the levee. So, you know, if you put them in front of 15, they're going to kill it just the same. I'd love to have the ability. If anybody...
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
If anybody with the regatta is listening and you don't want a band to cuss, give us a call.
Your phone's going to ring right now. Hey, you said you weren't going to cuss?
Yeah.
I will say this. If I was a national act coming on stage, I would absolutely not want to follow Byzantine.
I've had a few of my friends in bigger bands tell me that. They're like, we really don't want to go on after you. We really, and I'm like, you're just being nice, you know. But it does feel good to know that because we're all like regular. I run a bathroom company. Our guitar player is a bartender. Drummer works for FedEx. So the time that we have together to do Byzantine is very small. But we really put a lot of pride and care into it. It would be nice to play a lot more live, but we do what we can.
I did want to ask you, and I might be shifting the mood here,
Yeah.
and if I do, I apologize. But did I hear about 6 months or a year ago a band member passed away?
Yeah, our original drummer, he played in the band for about 15 years. His name was Matt Wolf. He passed away from drug addiction.
Oh man,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's it's a thing. You know how it is.
Yeah.
If you're from
Absolutely.
if you're from this area, chances are good somebody in your family or one of your best friends has perished from that, and it was a rough thing. But we just in the new album we put it in memory of Matt because
Absolutely.
When we first started, we had a drum machine, and I mean, we had some interest, but not really. And once we got Matt in the band as our drummer, it didn't take 6 months before we were signed. So he was very instrumental in this band becoming what it is.
Well, I want to say if anyone in Matt's family happens to watch or hear this, my love and my thoughts are with you guys, and of course the entire Byzantine band. And family, man, I'm so sorry to hear. That's got to be heart wrenching. So I won't keep it Debbie Downer, but I just wanted to send my love.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure Matt is somewhere being like, "F yeah."
Well, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Like I said, I'm a fan. So this is awesome. This is why I do this, So I'm so grateful to have you on here with me today.
Much appreciated, Nick. It's been really good talking to you, catching up.
Well, I'm looking forward to some Byzantine, man.
Yeah.
So let's debut this brand new single. Tell me about it.
Let's do it. Well, this song was written 22 years ago, but I'm telling you, it still feels fresh. It sounds like it was written yesterday. This song is called Wings of My Soul, and it is the first single on our new EP, which is called Black Sea Codex. You can stream it on Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, iTunes. You can get it on Bandcamp, or if you want the CD, go to ByzantineWV.com and hit us at the merch booth.
New Byzantine, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it.
Play it.